Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Personal Mastery Training. I'm your host, Alvin Brown. On this show, we don't just look at ways to get you through challenges. What I advocate is that I want you to learn and look for the wisdom we can get from them. We're here to dissect narratives, the stories, the internal dialogue that keeps so many of us stuck in suffering in silence. I remember Henry David Thoreau has a quote that says, "So many men and women live lives of quiet desperation." And that hit me. That's my passion because I've worked on thousands of people over 30 years and I see that happening. We live a life of quiet desperation, something we want to do and we don't execute on it. And life just ticks away. It goes so fast. Today, I want to unpack a conversation I had recently with a client that I think will hit home for many of you. Before we dive in, if you find value in today's session, please remember to like, subscribe, and share this episode. Your support helps us to grow this audience and the alliance and reach those who needs to hear this strategy the most if it's not you. Today, the topic is the why, the how, redefining your discipline. So the why versus the how, redefining your discipline. All right, so let's get into it. I was speaking to a client of mine recently. Now, to give you some context, this woman is a powerhouse, small but mighty. She runs 50K, 100K marathons constantly. Having taken care of her for a few good years now, we talk mindset, I take care of her body. Now, I want you to think about the grit, the stamina, and the mental fortitude that is required to put your body through 50, 100 kilometers of trail and road. Think about that. Here's the thing. During our session, the topic of me competing in bodybuilding came up. We talked about a lot of things that came up. She looked at me and said this, and this is the crazy part. She said, "Alvin, I could never do that. I just couldn't do bodybuilding. I don't have the discipline for that kind of activity or lifestyle or sport." Imagine that. She doesn't have the discipline. I stopped her right there. I told her, it's not that you couldn't do it. Seriously. You have a ton of discipline. It's that you have no reason why you should be doing it. And that's when it hit me. I got to share this with my group. I got to share it with my community. See, she was taken back. She doubled down the idea that she lacked the discipline. No. I couldn't do it. I don't have that discipline to restrict the food and the dieting and the specific training routine of a bodybuilder. I just couldn't do that. I don't have that discipline. And I had to correct that narrative immediately. I told her, you listen, you have a ton of discipline. Just think about that 50 Ks on a regular. And then she gets home and does training cool downs of 30K. And then you get out there and she'll do 100K. Are you kidding me? She's done 100 milers actually. You run 50K. You don't lack discipline. You lack a why for that specific goal. Because there's so many of us running around out there saying, I don't have the discipline. No, you have a ton of discipline. I am certain you have a ton of discipline in different areas, but not that specific area. But if we keep that narrative, we beat ourselves down and it bleeds into other areas in our lives. See, we often get caught up in the how we do things. How do I lose weight? How do I start the business? How do I stay consistent? How do I lose these pounds? Whatever it is, that narrative. See, we are always talking about the how. See, but the how is mechanical. The how is just a roadmap. If you don't want to go to the destination, the best map in the world you could find is useless. See, here's the thing. When my client runs 50K or 100 miles or whatever it is she runs, her why is clear. For her, perhaps it's the connection to nature, the test of human endurance, or the peace. She's a busy executive at a large company. and she's ahead. She's running hundreds of people or managing, under her management. But she may find peace in those long miles out there by herself, solo. I know when I run, that's a little bit of what I get. Is this once you get into the rhythm, it's this peace, this inner peace. That why fuels the discipline because she didn't have a soul deep reason to stand on the bodybuilding stage. Her brain labeled the effort as impossible or a lack of discipline. How have you been doing that? How have you been attempting to do something or looking over at somebody comparison and saying, I could never do that. I don't have the blank, the discipline, you know, the hard work ethic or whatever it is. But it's a lie. It's a narrative that you've been telling yourself that is untrue. It's just that you're missing a why. See, here's the lesson. If you're feeling stuck or lazy in some area of your life, stop beating yourself up about your willpower. Instead, ask yourself, does the why behind the goal actually belong to me? Or am I just in love with the idea of it? Discipline is a finite resource when you're doing something you don't care about. Discipline becomes an automated habit when it serves as a purpose that sets your soul on fire. I'll say that again. Discipline is a finite resource when you're doing something you don't care about. The reason why I got on this stage, there's a deep reason. My son, I did it. My daughter has now asked me to do the second competition. When it's something you care about, discipline becomes automated habit. And it serves a purpose that sets your soul on fire. When the thing you're doing sets your souls on fire, discipline becomes easy. So here are 3 strategies if you're feeling stuck or calling yourself lazy. I want you to apply these 3 strategies right now to audit your goals. 1, the audit of excellence. Look at an area where you're successful, like my client with her running, for instance. Identify where you're already showing a lot of discipline. Is it in your career, raising your kids, your hobby? Write down why you show up there. Why are you showing up there in that space and crushing it? Once you see your why in that one area, you can see why it's missing in another area. Because how you do one thing is how you do everything. Number 2, the 5 whys deep dive. For the goal you're struggling with, whether weight loss or whatever it might be, ask yourself why you want it. It's easy, right? Superficially, oh, sure, who doesn't want to? But why do you want it? When you give an answer, ask why to that answer. What would be the why? Do this 5 times. Go deep on it. And somewhere about the 5th why, the reason will become 4th, the real deep reason. It doesn't just look good or please others. Your discipline will always fail you if you're trying to please others. It has to go deep. Go deep on it. So number 3, narrative reframing. Stop saying I don't have the discipline. Start saying this is not a priority because the why isn't big enough yet. This shifts you from a victim of your character to a master of your choices. So let's go over those 3 strategies again. Audit the excellence, an audit of excellence. Look at the area you're successful in and see how it overplays. 2, your 5 whys deep. Go 5 whys deep. And then number 3 is reframe your narrative. All right, so closing. Stop telling yourself you aren't disciplined. You are likely very disciplined in certain areas you value. If you want to change your results, stop looking at the strategy, the how, and start interrogating your motive, the why. When the why is big enough, the how becomes a footnote. Remember, I'm going to always remind you about this. Your story, your narrative will shift to empowerment when your quest for true personal mastery begins. All right, I'm going to remind you of another thing my mentor, Dr. Tom Hill, would always tell me. One idea, well executed, can change your life forever. What one idea from this podcast, those 3 strategies I gave you, will you implement right now to change your life? And go back to my other podcast. What one idea will you implement? All right, check them all out. I'll see you next time on the podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, share, and I send you peace. Whole lot of love. We need it with a little sprinkle of soul, baby. Peace. I'm out. All right. Until next time.